Ultimately, I would describe the way that we practice as clinicians when it comes to caring for the suicidal patient is to care too much or to care too little. We practice in a defensive way, where we are unable to tolerate the risk or uncertainty, driven by a fear that we may be the last person to see the suicidal patient alive. Instead of communicating with the patient and their carers, or working to build a therapeutic relationship, we try to shift the problem and the person along the proverbial conveyor belt. The GP hastily refers to IAPT. IAPT describes the risk as too complex or too high to manage and refer to psychology, often with a 12 to 24 month wait. Or we have the crisis team. From there, the next step is admission to hospital. And at times this is under the Mental Health Act for a person who simply came to us and asked for some help. I'm not anti-hospital. I wouldn't have trained or worked in an inpatient environment for the last 4 years if I was. However, rather than a sanctuary that keeps a person safe from harm or promotes recovery, the hospital can be an environment that reinforces feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, or leave a person having to recover not only from suicidal thoughts, but the experience of an admission itself. It is a safety net, but too often it's a safety net without springs. By passing a person along the conveyor belt, we stop listening and stop talking to the person that is suicidal. We stop even seeing them as a person who is in need of our help. We spend less time trying to understand or promote protective factors or problem-solving skills. Instead, we focus on risk assessments and crisis plans. We forget the actual care planning itself, and care plannings are called that for a reason. We can also inadvertently add to a person's feelings of rejection, of being a burden. Suicide is a tragedy. However, all death is a tragedy. A death, for example, from COVID-19 is a tragedy too. Yet we do not look to proportion blame, either to the person that died from it, or those that tried their best to prevent it. Perhaps we need to move on from pointing fingers and focusing not on the outcome, but instead the decision-making process. We need to find a balance, a place between an alarmist reaction that sees self-harm or suicidal behaviour as a catastrophe, and in doing so forces us to act in a paternalistic manner that can take away a person's voice, choice and control, and stop them from seeking help in the future. And a dismissive, blasé approach that ignores risk, does not offer any kind of help, cites a person's capacity, how unsuccessful past attempts may have been, or label a person who has experienced trauma as being emotionally disordered, personality disordered, attention seeking, or playing games. We need to work with people, and instead of focusing on possible outcomes, focus on what has happened to them and how we can help them to carry on at a time when they may feel unable to. We need to practice in a way that is trauma-informed, promoting safety, trust and mutual respect. We need to focus not on suicide, but on promoting reasons to stay alive. I finish with 2 quotes. The first by William James. Be not afraid of life. Believe that life is worth living, and your belief will help create the fact. Perhaps we should spend more time trying to work with and create facts. The second part, be the beacon of light in someone's darkness. However, I add a second part to this. Try and be the right kind of light. The next time you work with a suicidal person, ask yourself, am I listening to them because I want to help them? Or am I listening to them, and will I practice purely in a way that focuses on protecting me? Thank you.